The Lost Donut Investigation, Part 1, by W.M. Cuppernell. There are things that go missing forever out of our control, from a piece of jewelry to the remote, a favorite dish or bowl, but there are few things in time that could be more valued than this. The Lost Donut Investigation is a story not to be missed. Benny the baker loved to go to work. He made lots of doughnuts with a proud smirk, up way before dawn, working each evening till 6, constantly baking and in the mix. At night he'd count doughnuts instead of sheep. It was said he could bake anything, even in his sleep. Benny's doughnuts were famous far and wide. The people would line up for hours to just get inside. Even in the cold, for it was extremely hot, just getting one of Benny's doughnuts was a thing to be got. Every day his doughnuts were praised, no matter if they were sprinkled, plain, or glazed. The famous made visits. Benny received praise from the Pope. They all said Benny's doughnuts united the people and gave them all hope. One day a fancy letter was received at Benny's place. Benny opened it with sleepy eyes and flour on his face. This letter forced him to become instantly wide awake. His mouth fell open. He almost went into shock. He looked like he was about to pass out in his baker's smock. The letter was surrounded with a pure gold trim. Its words seemed to glow and surround him. The letter was sent directly from the Queen. She had heard of his doughnuts, though she had never seen. She announced she wanted to come visit Benny's doughnut shop. He scratched his head. His dark hair did flop. The Queen would arrive early next Tuesday morning. He had barely a week to prepare. It was a very quick warning. Benny had a staff of 10, but he constantly needed more, as each week he sold more doughnuts than before. Now, with a visit from the Queen, with her entire court, he needed 10 more to make the doughnuts and sort. It was hard to find workers willing to start at 3 a.m., so he knew he would have to do the work of at least 10. Benny gave his workers heads up and to prepare. The Queen was coming. They all were aware. Every doughnut that day had to meet Benny's approval. Even the slightest dent was marked for removal. Benny hired 2 more workers, but no others were takers. No others wanted to wake early with his doughnut makers. He had the shop cleaned from top to the floor. He had red carpet placed from the curb to the door. Soon the dreaded day had arrived. If the Queen was not pleased, his shop could not survive. All workers worked feverishly with such care. Benny wished he could skip it all, but he wouldn't dare. The workers brought the first doughnuts out. Displeased, Benny did pout. Benny sent them all rejected back and said, "No, only the best doughnuts are needed for this act." After inspecting them all, only the best was brought to the front. "Only the best doughnuts!" he yelled on the hunt. All the doughnuts that didn't make the cut were sent right to the trash. On seeing this, some lucky birds swooped down in a lightning-fast dash. The fresh and delicious doughnuts were ready for the royal delight when trumpets announced the Queen's visit before she was in sight. The longest limousine Benny had ever seen pulled up in front of the shop, and out popped the Queen. The Queen pushed past her soldiers and all of her court. She appeared to be running. "Get out of my way!" she did snort. Her hair became a mess. She had a hungry look on her face. She forgot she was the Queen. She had forgotten her place. "I want Benny's doughnuts!" She ran for the door. She was hungry for a doughnut she had never had before. Everyone told her that she was missing out. The Queen was going to get hers today. There was no doubt. She couldn't wait to be served. She jumped over the counter. She grabbed the doughnuts. Benny and the staff were shocked by the encounter. There was nothing they could do, for she was the Queen, but she was by far the hungriest customer they all had ever seen. The Queen grabbed a glaze, a sprinkled doughnut, even a plain cake, and stuffed them all in her mouth. Benny was thankful he had got up extra early to bake. How many did the queen eat? Well, no one quite knows. The story says she ate them all, or so the story goes. After the donut feast, the queen demanded Benny to show her the ingredients and how it was done, but Benny refused to give up his secret recipe and tell anyone. He offered instead to give the queen a tour of his shop. She wanted to see Benny bake donuts from its very first drop. Benny did let the queen stir his special donut mix. That became a mistake that became almost impossible to fix. Everything seemed to go great on the queen's review. She invited Benny to her palace and paid for all her donuts she had eaten, too. Weeks passed. Benny went back to his routine. But one day, dozens of police showed up on behalf of the queen. The queen was missing an earring. She claimed it had been lost in Benny's place. She was determined to find it, and all her steps she wanted to trace. The earring, the detective claimed, was lost in Benny's donut mix. It was a valuable earring, worth a 10,000 times 6. It had a homing device, if it was ever lost, for them to track. But first they needed to start where it was lost, at the very first act. Benny had a video camera for his security. They both watched it patiently to confirm certainty. They figured the queen's earring got lost in Benny's dough. But who bought the lucky donut? They all wanted to know. Watching the footage for hours on end was so boring. Until 5 minutes to 10 that morning, a man wearing airline pilot wings came in to buy a dozen donuts and other things. The detectives were sure the earring was stuck in this pilot's donut batch and could be far away now, impossible to catch. The device would not work if the donut was across the sea. The lead detective grabbed him and said, "Sir, please come with me." "Where are you taking me?" was Benny's reply. The investigator said, "We're going to the airport, and if we have to, be ready to fly." Benny quickly hung up his apron and slicked back his black hair. He hoped he did not have to take to the air. At the airport, the police led the detective and Benny up to the gate to try to find the pilot that came in for donuts on that very date. The detective showed the stewardess and pilots a video of the man. One of the other pilots said, "Oh, that's Hawaii Harry. He's always sporting a tan. He does the Hawaiian flight 3 times a week and spends lots of time at the beach, if that's the person you seek." Benny's mouth dropped open, not knowing what was to come. He wanted to get back to his donuts. Standing there, he felt numb. "Okay, Benny," the detective said. "You ready to fly? We're off to the islands. Don't worry, I will buy." Benny just looked at him like he did not believe. He asked the detective, "Why do you need me? What could I possibly achieve?" The detective looked at him sternly with a sly grin and said, "Because it's your fault for all the mess that we're in. That earring was lost inside your store. Now we are off to Hawaii, Benny. I don't want to hear any more." The Lost Donut investigation continues on Part 2, coming soon. Please like, share, and subscribe for more stories. Thank you.